Segment 3. Who really built PSquare? While the legal battle focused on money, another dispute was playing out in public. And for Peter and Paul, it may have been even more personal, because this wasn't about bank accounts or company records. It was about legacy. Who made PSquare what it became? Who deserved the credit? And who had been living in the other's shadow? For years, fans saw PSquare as a single identity. One group, one sound, one success story. But according to both brothers' public statements over the years, they didn't always see it that way. As their relationship deteriorated, the conversation shifted away from business and toward creativity. Who wrote the songs? Who produced the ideas? Who carried the group? And who made the bigger contribution? Paul's position. Paul Okoye, better known today as Rude Okoye, has repeatedly maintained that he was responsible for writing and composing many of PSquare's biggest records. According to interviews cited by entertainment outlets covering the dispute, Paul has argued that he wrote the majority of the songs that defined the group's success. For him, that contribution speaks for itself. His position has consistently been that songwriting formed the foundation of PSquare's catalogue. To many fans, that wasn't entirely surprising. Paul had long been associated with songwriting inside the group. But Peter saw the story very differently. Peter responds, Peter has never denied that Paul wrote many of the group's songs. Instead, his argument has been about something much broader. According to multiple interviews and public statements, Peter believes the public has underestimated everything else he brought to PSquare. Performance, stage presence, dance, creative direction, branding, live shows, the chemistry that audiences experienced every time PSquare stepped onto a stage. His position has been that PSquare's success wasn't built by one songwriter. It was built by two performers whose strengths complemented each other. According to Peter's public comments, reducing the group's success to songwriting alone ignores years of collaboration that made PSquare what it became. And perhaps that's what makes this disagreement so difficult to resolve. Because neither brother is necessarily arguing about the same thing. One is talking about writing songs. The other is talking about creating an entire performance experience. Those aren't identical roles, but both are essential to building a successful music group. The winning controversy. The disagreement resurfaced publicly during Peter's solo comeback. According to reporting by This Day Live and Spectrum Daily, Peter released a song titled Winning, which quickly became the center of another dispute between the brothers. According to This Day Live, Paul alleged that the song had originally been developed with him before later being re-recorded by Peter without his knowledge or consent. Those were Paul's allegations. Peter strongly rejected them. According to This Day Live, Peter publicly identified the people he said worked on the song with him, including Ghanaian producer Vampa and songwriter Calypso. According to Peter's account, the record was legitimately created with those collaborators, and he denied any wrongdoing. Once again, two completely different versions of the same story. Neither brother is willing to back down. More than just a song. To someone outside the music industry, an argument over songwriting credits might seem insignificant, especially compared to an active criminal case. But inside the industry, creative ownership is deeply personal. Songs become careers, credits become reputations, and recognition often lasts longer than money itself. For artists who have spent decades building a legacy, being told your contribution didn't matter can feel like losing part of your identity. That's why this disagreement continues to resonate long after PSquare stopped releasing music together. It isn't simply a dispute over who wrote which song. It's about how history will remember each brother's contribution. And when history itself becomes something people fight over, reconciliation becomes much harder. Because now, The brothers weren't just questioning each other's business decisions. They were questioning each other's place in the story of PSquare. And once that happened, the breakdown in trust became almost impossible to ignore. The trust collapses if disagreements over money created suspicion, and disagreements over creative credit created resentment. There was one final ingredient that turned this family dispute into a public war. Trust, or more accurately, the complete loss of it. And according to both Peter and Paul, each brother believes the other was responsible. That's where the story goes next. Segment 4. Betrayal depending on who you ask. By this point, the disagreements had grown far beyond music, far beyond business. What remained was something much harder to repair. Trust. Ask Peter what happened, and you'll hear one story. Ask Paul, you'll hear another. Neither brother believes he betrayed the other. Instead, each believes he was the one who was betrayed. And that's what makes this chapter of the PSquare story so complicated. Because in family disputes, there are rarely simple heroes and villains. More often, there are different experiences of the same events. Paul's perspective. According to Pulse Nigeria's reporting, Paul has repeatedly suggested that Peter's decision to involve the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission marked a turning point in their relationship. Speaking in interviews cited by Pulse Nigeria, including one with City FM, Paul said that Peter's petition didn't just affect Jude. It affected him as well. According to Paul, he was invited by the EFCC for questioning after the investigation began. Investigators reportedly reviewed his financial records before eventually allowing him to leave without any charges. Paul has publicly maintained that he did nothing wrong. But from his perspective, the damage had already been done. Even if he was never charged, being drawn into a criminal investigation because of a dispute within the family fundamentally changed the relationship between the brothers. According to Paul, that experience left him questioning whether Peter still trusted him at all. Peter's response. Peter tells the story differently. According to reporting by Spectrum Daily and other entertainment outlets covering the dispute, Peter has denied targeting Paul. His position has consistently been that his petition concerned financial accountability, not revenge, not an attempt to destroy his brother's reputation. According to Peter's public statements, his concerns were directed at Jude and the management of company finances. From Peter's perspective, seeking answers about business matters shouldn't have been interpreted as an attack on his twin brother. Whether others accepted that explanation is another question entirely. But Peter has maintained that accountability, not family conflict, was the motivation behind his actions. Two truths or two perspectives. One of the most difficult things about family disputes is that two people can experience the same event in completely different ways. Peter may genuinely believe he was trying to protect his financial interests. Paul may genuinely believe that decision dragged him into an investigation he never should have been part of. Those experiences don't necessarily cancel each other out. In fact, according to the public statements each brother has made over the years, they help explain why reconciliation has become so difficult. Because before forgiveness comes accountability. People first have to agree on what actually happened. And right now, that agreement doesn't appear to exist. When private pain becomes public, perhaps the saddest part of the story is that these disagreements no longer belong only to the family. Every interview, every Instagram post, every podcast appearance, every court hearing becomes another headline, another debate, another opportunity for fans to take sides. What might once have been resolved through private conversations has instead unfolded in front of millions of people. According to multiple outlets covering the feud, social media has only intensified those divisions. Supporters of Peter defend his decision to pursue financial accountability. Supporters of Paul argue that family disputes should never have reached this point. Others continue to blame Jude for allowing business disagreements to consume the relationship between the brothers. The result is a story that now belongs almost as much to the public as it does to the family itself. The cost of distrust. Trust isn't usually lost in a single moment. It disappears gradually, conversation by conversation, argument by argument, decision by decision, until eventually, every action is viewed through suspicion. Every explanation sounds like an excuse. Every disagreement feels intentional. Looking back at the PSquare story, that's exactly what seems to have happened. The dispute was no longer about contracts, or royalties, or songwriting. Those issues mattered, but beneath them was a much deeper question. Could the brothers still believe each other? According to everything that's unfolded publicly, the answer appears to have become no. And once trust disappears inside a family, repairing the relationship becomes far more difficult than repairing a business. But here's what makes this story even more remarkable. This wasn't the first time PSquare had fallen apart. In fact, the family had already been through this once before. They found their way back to each other, rebuilt the group, returned to the stage, only for history to repeat itself. The question is, why? Segment 5, a cycle of reunions and heartbreak. By now, the PSquare story might seem like one long family dispute. But what's often forgotten is that this wasn't the first time the brothers had fallen apart. In fact, they'd already lived through this once before. They'd separated, found their way back to each other, and then lost each other all over again. According to Pulse Nigeria's timeline of the group's history, the story of PSquare isn't simply about one breakup. It's about a pattern that repeated itself over nearly a decade. 2017, the first major split. For years, rumors had circulated that things weren't as peaceful behind the scenes as they appeared on stage. Fans noticed fewer joint appearances. Media outlets began reporting disagreements. Then, everything finally came to a head. According to Pulse Nigeria, tensions surrounding management decisions and Jude Okoye's role within the business reached a breaking point. One of the most widely reported moments from that period involved a confrontation at the office of the brothers' lawyer. According to Pulse Nigeria's timeline, a video from the meeting circulated widely online, showing how serious the disagreements had become. For many fans, it was the first time they realized the problems weren't simply rumors. PSquare was officially over. Or at least, that's what everyone believed. Thanks for watching parts 1 and 2, and I hope you've been enjoying the story so far. And if you're enjoying these musical hot stories, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, so we can keep bringing you more stories like this. So what are we getting into in part 3? After PSquare split, Peter became Mr. P, while Paul continued as Rude Boy. Both went on to build successful solo careers, but fans never stopped comparing them, and everyone kept asking one question: would PSquare ever reunite? Then, in 2021, it finally happened. Peter and Paul reunited, PSquare was back, and fans celebrated like the family had finally healed. But had the real problems actually been solved? Because behind the music, issues involving money, management, trust, and creative recognition may have never truly disappeared. And then, in 2024, history repeated itself. The brothers separated again, but this time the situation became much more serious, moving beyond music and social media. So was this just another PSquare breakup, or the beginning of a much bigger battle? That's what we uncover in part 3.